How's it going, everyone? We're back for another episode of Calavera Beach. So last episode we built this pier over here, a pier which doesn't exist in Laguna Beach, but I thought it was just too iconic to California to not include a pier. So this episode we're going to be building a college and basing it off a story from the comments section. How are y'all doing? I'm doing pretty well. It's a Wednesday, and I had a pretty awful day, but I know that tomorrow's gonna be a better one, and, you know, that's always a nice thought. You're all probably watching this on a Friday or a Saturday, and just very happy with yourselves because you've made it to the end of the week, and yeah, I'll be there in a couple days, but for now, I gotta work on this episode of Calavera Beach. So, Calavera Beach, last episode went out about 2 weeks ago, and we're back. So, what have we been working on here so far? We've been working on this College of Art and Design. I'm going to get into the actual backstory behind this college a little later. It's all based on a narrative by a commenter by the name of Barth on the last episode, and I think it's a really awesome story, and I think it includes a lot of other stuff that we can actually implement later in the episode, or rather later in this series. And yeah, you'll see. I'll talk about it a little later. For now, we're actually making a nice little residential neighborhood here, and it might be weird what you see right here. I'm mixing some really nice large mansions with like smaller houses, and this is actually relatively realistic for a place like Laguna Beach. You'll have a bunch of really large houses mixed in with a bunch of cottages and bungalows that people have just not really updated all that much, and it's usually like hippies with, you know, Volkswagen buses in the front on the driveway, and areas like surrounded by foliage. But the idea is a lot of people like to stick to their old houses and not, you know, put massive new developed houses in. So yeah, a lot of the time it'll be a mix. We will add a lot more mansions as we move into the hills, though. This is undoubtedly a very like expensive place to live. Calavera Beach, by no means cheap. So you're looking at like even the smallest houses here are probably like a solid $900,000. That's like how bad the real estate is in California right now. It's bad, and probably no different in Calavera Beach. Calavera Beach is a really cool spot. I don't see why you wouldn't want to live here, and yeah, real estate's going to be pretty bad. And unfortunately, since I'm basing this off, you know, what I see realistically, I can't build a load of affordable housing because that doesn't exist in a place like this. By definition, housing will not be affordable. We are starting to build the college, and it's time to talk about the backstory behind the college. Okay, so there's a museum in downtown Calavera Beach, and it's an art museum, but it did not have a story behind it. So I just randomly asked, right, in a video for some suggestions in the comments for like a backstory, and I really think that the backstory for that museum is going to really seep into how I, you know, design the rest of the series, and it will. So, let me read you this comment by Barth. I'll try to read it quickly. Calavera Beach Memorial Art Museum. The Calavera Beach Memorial Art Museum is in downtown Calavera Beach, next to popular shops and cafes, and is a major draw to the community for tourists. It specializes in the collective works of many famous artists who have gathered to the beaches and hills around Calavera Beach for over 100 years, all due to the original popularity of Jefferson Pickett, who immigrated in 1902 to the California coast from New Windsor in the eastern United States. Pickett was renowned for his beach scenes, and an entire floor of the museum is dedicated to his collected works. The rest of the museum features works from the likes of Olivia Smith, Donald Hutchinson, and so many of the others who flocked to the community in the early 1900s, subsequent to Pickett's success, many of whom grew famous here in Calavera Beach and remained here throughout their lives, and this is why the museum is a memorial museum. On the ground floor, a corner of the museum serves as a gallery for students of the local art and design college. Furthermore, students from the college take advantage of the opportunity of the museum as a tourist attraction, selling their works on the sidewalks just outside. This practice, of course, serves to draw even more art tourism to Calavera Beach, which is why the community has always been and remains to this day a city of the arts, and why it houses such a large bohemian colony. Thanks so much for this comment, Barth, because it gives me a nice groundwork to use to really set up what the Calavera Beach art scene is. So one thing that I really like as an idea from this comment is the street art. Having artists just standing on the street trying to sell art. I think that's a really awesome idea. I haven't integrated it yet, but I definitely will in the future as I return to the downtown area. And I love the idea of there being this massive flock of artists starting in the early 1900s and just continuing on and on. And I definitely do want to integrate something related to 60s and 70s culture in there, because I feel like it's very important. I don't know how 60s and 70s culture fits in specifically to Calavera Beach, other than how it might generically fit into an area with a culture like Calavera Beach's, filled with the arts, right, and hippies, essentially. But I'd assume it would be similar to the development of other similar areas, but it's a very unique place, so I'm assuming there are probably some other components to it, but that's another topic. I really can't wait to go back to the art museum and the downtown area to actually start placing street art, because I love that idea, and it makes complete sense. A decentralized art community that has some main focal points like the college and the museum, but is very much based on the individual artists and their activities selling art in the streets. I think that's a really awesome idea. And I definitely want to implement some parts of the town that are specifically dedicated to some of the imaginary artists mentioned in that comment. But for now, we're just building this college. But I would like to maybe place some mansions that belonged to some of the artists or something like that later on in the hills, which I really can't wait to build. I really want to get into the hills, start building there. But we've got a long way to go because we've got a massive shoreline to cover in the meantime. Well, I've got a problem. I'm really having trouble figuring out how to make these shoreline cliffs realistic on a large scale, because I'm using the Avanya cliff assets right now just to add some texture and depth, and then I'm placing a bunch of surface rocks underwater. I'd use them above water, but they're gray versus the arid, tan color of the cliffs, so it contrasts too much, but they look good underwater. But the actual cliffs themselves are pretty bright. One thing I might try is to grab the Monaco cliffs from Avanya, because those are actually based on the Springwood cliff texture, I believe, and that's the map theme I'm using, so that might work a little bit better. But I do like the brightness of these cliffs currently. It seems more realistic based on what you actually see in a place like Laguna Beach, on the cliffs. I don't know. I'm gonna have to figure that out, because right now the cliffs look a little bit weird from afar. They look very bright, but yeah, I'll figure it out. And we won't really have too many areas with cliffs that are this this large and, you know, this extensive. Usually they're going to be houses in between and stuff like that, but obviously this college is like on a peninsula right here, so it's going to be a little bit different. So the episode's starting to come to an end now. I'm sorry for the shorter episode, but it's better than nothing, because if there was no short episode, there would be no episode whatsoever, because I don't have time to make a 25-minute episode right now, and I'm trying not to be a perfectionist, and I think that's going to help me with my productivity, because I've been trying to make sure every single video is just perfect. Like, it couldn't be better. But there's always going to be something I could do to make the video better, and if I continue to try to be completely perfect, I'd never upload anything. So I think it's more rational to just try to upload what I can each week and just get a video out every week. Solid goal, I think. But yeah, next episode of New Windsor, we're going to have the release of the Roads United pack, and we're going to have the giveaway winner announced. But for now, hopefully you all enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like. It really does help out a lot, helps new people find the channel. Subscribe if you are new around here, and hit the bell icon next to the subscribe button to get notified whenever I upload a video, so you never miss a new episode of Calavera Beach or New Windsor. And yeah, definitely follow me on Twitter, links in the description. I post useful stuff on there. You can check out my page. I actually post useful stuff on Instagram as well, which is very uncommon. Usually Instagram is just a cesspool of just junk, but apparently it's good for city skylines because there are images and stuff. So I post my best screenshots there. So check those out, and I'll see you in the next episode.